Welcome to lesson 4. Remember, the idea is to do at most one lesson a day. Please don't be smashing through all the lessons like at once. I'm reminding you on lesson 4 in particular because if you're a stronger student, maybe the earlier lessons you can get away with it. But as they start getting harder, I think it becomes more and more and more important not to do that. Just one a day. When I designed this, I imagined one a week, and I think maybe it works best doing one a week. It depends how much time you've got before the exam, what your learning scale is, how you want to fit it in with the other learning. Anyway, and for some students, one a week might be too slow because it might not reflect the rate at which you learn at school. For other students, it might support them through school. Blah blah blah. I'm waffling while perhaps you're trying the question. Pause the video if you need more time. Here's my answer. Y equals 4. That's the answer. There's a number of ways you can do this. You can just do it by inspection. For me, this is a legitimate way to answer it because it has to be, because two fractions add up to make one. Little fraction. Let's do a little fraction reminder because it's good to practice fractions. 1 is a whole circle. 1/5 is 1/5 of a circle, and therefore we must have the remaining 4/5 as a circle on the left. We can also do this with algebra. We could times both sides by 5, which gives us y over 5 times 5 plus 1 over 5 times 5 equals 1 times 5. Oh look, that cancels, so y plus 1 equals 5, minus 1 from both sides, y equals 4. Personally, myself, I would use inspection. But if I were in an exam, I'm not quite sure. I might do the algebra just to be absolutely certain of getting the marks. Depends on the context, really. Pause the video, have a go in your own time, come back to me when you're ready. Answer is not possible because there are two unknowns and one equation. In general, that means you can't solve it. Again, for completeness, let's observe that you could minus q, for example, and say p equals minus q and say, well, that's not an answer, but it's better. Yeah, well, yep. Next question. Have a go in your own time. Come back to me by pausing. Come back to me when you're ready. We could do this by inspection again. Here's the thing. You've got two things multiplied together. You've got 8 being multiplied by d minus 3, making 0, which means 8 or d minus 3 must be 0. Clearly 8 isn't 0, so d minus 3 must be 0, so d is obviously 3. To me, that's fair enough, but in an exam, I think I would probably do a bit more working. For example, you could say d minus 3 equals 0, because obviously it has to, because two things multiplied together make 0, and then you could do plus 3, which means that d equals 3. You're adding 3 to both sides, you end up with d equals 3. Next question. There we go, I've written it out. Pause the video, have a go in your own time. See you back here. Okay, you might have said not possible, which is fair enough. I think a much better answer is, because we can say something very concrete here, p equals 0 and or q equals 0. Well, because two things multiplied together make 0, one of them must be 0, and in this case p and q are different, so they could both be 0, or maybe just one of them is 0. Wait until I've finished writing, because there's more than one thing here. Okay, that's finished. Have a go in your own time. Meet you back here. And the answers are x equals 5 and y equals 4. I'm now going to sort of talk through my answer. Okay, well, we can take this first one here. We could divide both sides by 2, which gives us 2 over x divided by 2 equals 10 divided by 2, which means that x, because that cancels, x equals 5. And then I can say, well, now that I know what x is, I can combine these two equations. 5 plus y equals 9. I could minus 5 from both sides, which gives me y equals 9 minus 5, y equals 4. There we go. Let's do the next question. Have a go in your own time. See you back here in a minute. Answer is not possible. I know we've done yet another one of these. And again, let's just note for completeness, you could add q to both sides. Again, in a lot of context, depending on the situation, I would do this just to guarantee the marks. I'd observe that, well, we can write one in terms of the other. It's not a solution, but it's telling us, it's giving us more concrete information. Next is a calculate. I've got 4 calculate questions here, or little calculate things to do. Pause the video if you need to, have a go in your own time. I'm going to give you my answers now. There we go. If you didn't get one of those, double check. Remember that this one is 3 divided by 3, so it's 3 divided by 3 shared with 3 people. You get 1 each. Got another calculate here. I'll let you know when I've finished writing them out. Finished. Have a go in your own time. See you back here. And my answers are this. Again, it's a pattern. For me, what's most useful? I find this quite useful. It just kind of reminds me that it doesn't matter where a minus sign is. If there's one minus sign, it makes it minus. Yeah, that's probably about it, really. Remember, 2 times 2 is an anomaly because 2 plus 2 is also equal to 4. And that's an exception. So you have to be very careful with that. So many mistakes derive from kind of that sort of leading you down a bit of a kind of mistake later. This time we got 3 to do. Have a go, take your time, pause the video, see you back here in a minute. The answers are as follows. You can obviously skip forward to the next question. I'm going to talk about why. This one, if you got this one wrong, I really, really, really want you to be more careful. Please, please be more careful. That means 2 to the 3, which is 2 times 2 times 2. It's 2 times itself 3 times. So many students get this wrong, which means, so 2 times 2 is 4. No, 4 times 2. So many students get this wrong, and I kind of see in their eyes, they just kind of go, it's fine, I wouldn't normally make that mistake. And I just think, well, if you wouldn't normally make that mistake, why did you make it now? And if you make a mistake now, do you think that in the pressure of an exam, you're more or less likely to make a mistake? Or in the pressure of being at work, using your maths, you're more or less likely. Get into the habit of doing it properly. This is 1 times 1 times 1 times 1 times 1, which is 1 times 1 is 1 times 1 times 1, so it's still 1. This one here is 10 times 10, which is 100. Next question. Got more calculates. I do tend to put in a lot more calculate questions early on when I'm tutoring somebody because I think they're really good just to kind of drill and get them really clean. And you should notice that as we go through this, I sort of throw in more and more different and unusual questions just to kind of test edge cases, which will come up. Okay, that's them. Have a go. See you back here. Right, first one, I'm going to do the brackets first. So 1 plus 2 is 3. Remember there's a time sign in there. 5 minus 1 is 4, so that's 12. Do the indices first. So that's 3 plus 2 cubed. Remember 2 cubed is 8. We did that earlier, which makes 11. This is interesting. Do we do minus signs first or indices first? We do indices first. So that's minus. The minus don't do anything with that yet. And then we have to do whatever 4 times 4 is. I'm going to put brackets in just to make it clearer what's happening. So that's minus 16. Oh, that's a final answer. We're going to come back to that in a minute in case you're not sure about it. This last one here, What does squared mean? It means multiply it by itself. Again, we're going to come back to this one in a second as well, but just briefly, the answer to that is 16. In case you want further explanation, we're going to look at each of these. Let's look at this one first. Maybe you're still a bit confused. What if I gave you the question 100 minus 4 squared? I think now it's suddenly clearer. That's 100 minus whatever 4 squared is. What's 4 squared? It was 16. Oh. Now, watch this. Instead of 100 minus 14, what if it's 0 minus 14? Wait a sec. If it's 0 minus 14, we don't need to write 0. Maybe that's clearer now. Final one. Let's look at this. I want to write this out again. I want to look at the index of the power. This, I always say, go left and see what it's touching, what it's next to. It's touching, it's next to the bracket, which means it's the brackets that are being squared. And obviously, once there's a bracket, you have to repeat what's in it. So it is minus 4 times minus 4. And let's keep the brackets because they make it clearer, which is 16. There we go. Next question. Got a same to both sides again. Going to create a grid. So obviously once I've written the first one out, you can get going. There's going to be 4 different ones. And again, I'm trying to vary the questions each time, which means some of the questions can look quite odd, but then questions can look odd. Pause the video, have a go in your own time. Welcome back. The first one is k plus 10 minus 3 equals x minus 3. That makes 7, so it's k plus 7. The next one, well, we add 3 ones to each side, so that'll be k plus 13 equals x plus 3. Let's start being a bit quicker here. This one, we divide each thing we can see by 3. Remember, divide and times, we do it to each thing. And this one, we times each thing. Pause the video if you need to look at those answers. Okay, I'm going to move on to the next question. I'm going to give you some points again. And the question will be, what is the rule? So plot the points and then work out what the rule is. Pause the video if you need to. This time I'm going to plot the points without actually marking the axes. 1x is 1, y is 3. X is 1, y is minus 1. Let's do the next two in purple. Y is 1, x is 0. Y is 1, x is minus 5. I'm going to draw a line. And I'm going to observe that y keeps changing, but x is staying the same. Because look, up here, y is equal to 5. Down here, y is equal to minus 5. Clearly, y is different. But x is always equal to 1. So the rule is x equals 1. Next question. Got some more calculates here. I'll let you know when I've written them all down because there's a few. Obviously, you can get going straight away. Pause the video if you need to. Have a go in your own time. Welcome back. First one is 1. Second one is 4. No, I nearly made a mistake there. I'm going to say out loud 5/3 plus 1/3 is 6/3, which is 2. Half plus half is 1, and this one is a half. Move on with the bookmark, whatever, jump to the next question if you want to. I'm just going to talk about this briefly. This first one, remember, a third looks like that, and then another third looks like that. I'm not drawing them very well here. And then the last third looks like that, and if you combine them, you got 1. This one, well, 6/3. Oh look, 1/3, 2/3, 3/3, 4/3, 5/3, 6/3 makes 2. Half plus half is 1. Generally people are happy with that. How many tenths make a whole? 10 tenths make a whole, but here we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tenths. So 5 tenths would be half. Next question. It's an expand question. Have a go in your own time. See you back here when you're ready. Right. Oh, well, the thing on the outside is multiplying the bracket, and therefore it's just multiplying everything, because a bracket is defined as being a collection of things. So that's simply 3x plus 30y plus 6z plus 300. That's your answer. Last question. This one is called do the opposite of expand. That's what I've decided to call this question. Here we go. We just expanded something. I'm just going to put that back so you can see it. I wonder what the opposite of expand. What would it, if you did the opposite? I mean, pause the video and have a go in your own time, or whatever. If you did the opposite, presumably instead of the brackets disappearing, presumably they'd appear. Well then if the brackets appear, what goes outside? Well, I guess that, well, they both got a 7. There'll have to be a plus in the middle. Should we just check if this works? By the way, this is the correct answer. That'll be 7x plus 7y. There we go. And that is called factorizing. Or you might just see the word factorize, because the verb is to factorize. That's the end of lesson 4. See you in the next video.